Hey guys, welcome back to Gotta Have Faith, the community podcast. It's been a minute and I'm so excited to be recording this podcast for you guys because the podcast was always very, very therapeutic for me. And now that we have visuals, honestly, just makes this 10 times more better. It's been a minute since I recorded an episode, and honestly, I'm not about to sit here and start this by pretending like everything has been sunshine and rainbows because it hasn't. And I feel like I've changed like a lot, not in a bad way, but in a way where I don't even recognize the version of me that I used to be. And I don't even recognize the version of me that I'm seeing right now. I don't know if you could tell your girl's glowing. I'm just feeling a little bit different. The energy is different. Who I am is different. And it took me a really long time to kind of like learn to accept that I was changing. I honestly used to be able to push through like anything. Like when I say I took resilience to new heights and new levels, like no matter what life threw at me, it was always like, okay, I got to keep pushing. Okay, I'm going to keep going. All right, we got this. Like just keep going. For a long time, I honestly wore resilience like a badge of honor, and it really didn't even need to be that. Being resilient, being strong, always bouncing back, and it honestly started to get exhausting. Like when I say I hit burnout like no other, I've never experienced burnout like I did this time around. And it really brought me to a point where I was just really, really sad, really depressed, and just like I said, couldn't recognize the person that I saw. And it was just making me go about life completely differently. I was waking up and I felt like I was keeping myself busy to cope, and my reactions to things were different. I felt different. I was going through certain things, and it wasn't just the same sad depression that I felt before. This time it was just like, okay, I'm sad, I'm depressed, and I was very much aware that I wasn't doing well and I needed to do something about it. So it felt like I wasn't living. I was just constantly recovering, constantly adjusting, constantly trying to fight my way back to normal, but I feel like there is no such thing as normal. And then recently I got diagnosed with PTSD, and that was a whole thing in itself, because when I say the clarity that I started to feel, I recently turned 25, so they always say your frontal lobe develops at 25, but I think I underestimated how much my frontal lobe developed. Like your girl really started to just look at life completely different, and honestly that made me feel some type of way too. It was just like, why does everything feel different? Why are my reactions to things differently? Why am I different? What's making me different? And it was because of the situations that I was going through in my life. It was changing me, and I wasn't dealing with it like everyone else. The depression was very much high functioning. No one would ever have been able to tell that there was something wrong, but deep down in my heart, I knew that things were right and I had to figure something out. So this new diagnosis, suddenly things started to make sense, but at the same time, things started feeling 10 times heavier, because there was like, okay, now that I know what's different about me, now I have the power to do something about it. I feel like when things feel out of control and you feel like you don't understand your emotions and there's no definition that you can put on it, it's like, okay, I still have to figure it out. But now that the struggles that I was having are actually defined, it's like, hold on, sister, what am I supposed to do with this? So like I said, the way I react to things are different now. The way things affect me is different now. And for a while, I didn't like this new version of me because I kept comparing her to who I used to be. I would just like little things, like even when it comes down to waking up in the morning. Now when I wake up in the morning, I love having peace of mind in the morning. I sit for 10 minutes and I do absolutely nothing. I just breathe. I just listen to the noises around me. I just become way more aware of my surroundings. The old version of me, I'd wake up and immediately want to scroll on my phone, and I didn't even know what it was doing to me then, but I know now there's a huge difference between a morning that I start my day with a clear heart, mind, prayer, and then just literally setting a timer on my phone and setting 10 minutes of me absolutely doing nothing, not even allowing my mind to think, versus me waking up and immediately starting to think about every single thing under the sun. Like the overthinking was crazy. So I just kept thinking to myself, like, why can't I just handle things the way that I used to? Why does everything feel so intense now? Why am I just as motivated, but in a completely different way? I think once I started to be more hyper aware of what I was feeling, how I was reacting to things, and starting to really pay attention, like so much so to the point where I was constantly writing things down. If something gave me like an overwhelming sense of anxiety, it wasn't just me overthinking in my mind. I would get a tightness in my chest. I would feel things physically that were manifesting in my brain, and my body was reacting to things before my brain could catch up and be like, okay, Faith, I think this made you feel a certain type of way, or I think this made you more anxious, or whatever the case may be. So if I'm being 100% truthful, I just wasn't giving myself the space and opportunity to be this new version of me. I was completely different. The way that I think is different, the way that I feel is different, but I was still acting the same way. I feel like honestly, I was still just in survival mode, just trying to survive something while also expecting myself to perform the way that I used to. And once I just started paying more attention to my thoughts, my feelings, my mind, and just allowing myself to feel them and not feeling guilty for thinking differently or being different because of things that I've been through in my life, I honestly feel like that healed me 10 times more. Because honestly, when it comes to resilience, when you're constantly trying to be resilient every single day, it stops feeling like a strength. It just feels like survival. And survival is exhausting. I shouldn't be waking up every day feeling like your girl is fighting for her life. Like, that's insane. I have to figure out new ways to maneuver through knowing things that are happening for me and not to me, and reacting to them differently. So I had to do something that I didn't expect to do again, which is fall in love with myself all over again. Because falling in love with yourself again after you've already done it multiple times when you feel broken, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And just to give like just a little bit of background, um, so I started this podcast around the time that I was let go from my job because your girl was calling out to pursue other dreams and passions. And that was a very transitional period for me because right before that, I had just got out of a relationship that was pretty serious. And it was just a lot of confusion, a lot of why me? Why is this all happening to me at once? Like, why does it feel like I'm taking so many L's in my life? And honestly, what I had to realize was God was just removing and making room for the new opportunities and new blessings. But that didn't click for me until down the line. Now, during this time period, again, just very transitional, I started a work from home job. I started to take modeling more seriously because now I had way more time on my hands. I started to start new passion projects like this podcast. I started to create my merch and I started to do all these incredible things that were starting to make me feel good on the surface, but there was still some more deeper healing that I needed to do. And the thing with falling in love with yourself again is you have to wake up and choose yourself constantly, even when you don't feel like yourself. It's giving yourself grace, but also in the same time, just making sure that you're holding yourself accountable. And I think because I was going through so much in my life, and right after all these major shifts in my life happened that triggered a lot of emotions, especially emotions from my childhood, things that I experienced that were similar, I started pushing it all under the rug and pushing it all out the way because it was like survival mode, girl. Like, you have to lock in and you cannot even give yourself time to dwell on what's happening to you. More so for me. But I was just in this position where I was just constantly overthinking everything, constantly, not trusting myself. But I wouldn't even allow that stuff to manifest physically, I would think all these crazy thoughts in my head, but I would just silence them and I would just move on about my day. So instead of me dealing with everything, I just tried to keep myself busy and I threw all this stuff on my plate. I wanted to get back into content creating. I wanted to, do my podcast. I wanted to model more. I was just doing all these things and I was competing in a pageant. And I was just so busy that I just didn't even give myself any room or opportunity to sit back and be like, wow, you went through something that was a lot and your body kind of needs the time to reset and heal from that. And I just didn't even give myself a chance to. So out of nowhere, things just started feeling different. And I think that was my body just being like, girl, you went through things that changed you as a person. You know, it was just like my body just really just hit a hard reset out of nowhere. And I think turning 25 and that frontal lobe developing too was just like my wants and my desires were changing completely. Even when it came to this podcast, the intentions, my why, the goals that I had, the vision that I have for the podcast changed. There were so many things going on, and my brain just started to get overwhelmed, that so overwhelmed to the point where I had to take a step back from the things that I was doing. I was like, there's no way possible that I can sit here on this podcast trying to pass on gems, trying to share the information that, has helped me change my life and helped me become a stronger person, knowing that I'm still struggling on the inside and I'm not even practicing what I preach. I couldn't create content because I'm a completely different person, right? The content that was doing well before is not the same content that fuels me or makes me feel good to share. Everything started feeling like a chore instead of feeling like a passion or something that made me happy. Like right now in this moment, I am so happy, to sit here and get ready to do this entire setup to make everything look good. It felt good to do this, but before, it didn't feel good. It was just like I was forcing myself, and I couldn't even let the thoughts flow out of my mind. I felt like when it came down to me talking on here, I couldn't just flow through and get through my talking points. I was just kind of rambling, and it just didn't feel good, and it just didn't feel like me. And for a long time, I think I thought my power came from resilience. Like everyone would tell me, Faith, you are so resilient. You're so strong. And I just didn't like that version of myself anymore. I didn't like the version of myself, that was being an overshare on social media and showing so much of the low moments. I just started to feel like, wow, like I don't want to be that anymore. So I don't want to share that anymore. And when I started to change up the content, do different things, it wasn't doing as well. And it was just like, well, I have to remember the reason why I did this in the first place, right? Like this was not for to make anyone else feel good. It makes me feel good. And if someone can relate to that, then great. And if not, then it's just not meant for them. And I think I now know that my power doesn't come from me being so resilient. My power comes from me being authentic, me being honest and truthful with myself. My power comes from me being able to sit here and be like, you know what? Hey y'all, I'm starting my self-love journey again. After I started this, because I decided to take my power back and to take my strength back. But at the time, I didn't realize that I was still needing to heal through so much, that there was so much other work that I needed to do to be able to come back and get to this passion. My power also comes from how gently I can treat myself. Now I allow myself to make mistakes or do something that I'm not necessarily proud of, or something that I can be disappointed in myself about, and kind of shake it off and move on. Before, I would just be in utter panic and just belittle myself and bully myself so much. Ooh, I was so mean to myself. Ooh, I was so mean. But you see, as I use was in the past tense, I'm a human being. And honestly, I used to feel things so deeply before, and now I just feel them so much more intensely. And I think one of the things that changed about me too is I'm confident in my thoughts and my feelings. Y'all, I thought I was confident before. This newfound confidence that I have in myself when it comes to my boundaries, just things that I tolerate, or just simply things that don't align with me, the things that I do or do not like, I'm not allowing other people's thoughts and opinions dictate the things that I'm doing in my life. And I love that about myself. I love that I'm able to meet myself where I am instead of trying to force myself to be someplace that I'm not or I'm not ready yet for. I feel like a lot of the times when you make prayer requests, right? You pray like a year ago, I was praying so much for more modeling opportunities to, be in the position that I am right now. Hosting a podcast, recording consistently, doing things consistently, having, discipline, having discernment, being able to have thoughts and ideas and put them on paper and be confident in those things. Before, it just wasn't seamless for me. It just wasn't happening as seamless as I know it could be. And now I am living in those prayers that I made a year ago. I was just in so many toxic situations where a lot of people were telling me about myself instead of me defining who I am on my own. And if whoever was in my life couldn't embrace the person that they were seeing at face value, see ya. Like, it's just not going to work for me. I'm allowed to start over. I am allowed to change my mind. I am allowed to feel like I want to change my style. I'm allowed that to feel like I want to change the way that I post. I'm allowed to feel like I want to change the way I do my makeup. Change is okay. Change is not always a bad thing. And I feel like the fear of the unknown and being out of control holds us back in so many ways, but let this be a testimony that you are allowed to be different. You are allowed to change. That is the only way that you are going to elevate and move forward. Sometimes the things we are praying for, we are not who we're meant to be yet to be able to receive these things. So sometimes God has to put us in a position, okay, sis, I see what you want to do, and I see where I know you're capable of being and what my plans are for you. So I'm going to put you in different situations so that way you can learn how to be the version of yourself that you are praying for. And maybe that's what this season is all about. Not becoming who I used to be, but becoming someone softer, someone more aware, someone more aligned. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you've changed, like you don't recognize yourself anymore, or like things affect you differently now, I just want you to know that you're not broken, you're evolving. I feel like that's what I've had to keep reminding myself, that if I want to be the highest version of myself, I have to shed old skin. I have to be able to think differently, talk differently, act differently, dress differently, the way that I style myself, the things that make me happy, the things that fuel me, the things that keep me going, they're not the same as they were a year ago. And that's okay. I don't know why I was not allowing myself to become something different, especially if you want to be different. You have to allow yourself to do different if you want to be different. You cannot be the same person that you were yesterday if you want to be a newer and better version of yourself tomorrow. And I am here to remind you that it is okay to fall in love with yourself again. Just like you date multiple people, just like things change, you fall out of love with someone and then you fall in love with someone new. It's just like dating. You have to date yourself and you have to allow yourself to fall for the different versions and newer versions of yourself, especially if you really are determined to becoming a better version of yourself. So I just wanted to make this quick episode, I guess, to kind of reintroduce myself and just give myself the opportunity to step into the person that I want to become. I want to be the person that isn't afraid to turn on the camera and get to yapping, that isn't afraid that no matter what it looks like, it's not perfect, that's perfectly okay. My camera stopped multiple times and I had to re-record. I'm sure I'm going to have a field day with this, editing this later, but this goes to show that we are all human and we just have to give ourselves grace sometimes. And it is okay to keep pushing and keep fighting despite the things that you've been through. But I think that we need to learn to go with the flow and not so much against the flow, trying to fight and be something that we're not in this moment. If you're feeling sad, allow yourself to be sad, but remind yourself that tomorrow's a new day and you can become better tomorrow. I used to beat myself up so much and just not be okay with allowing myself to feel certain things because I felt like I had to be strong or I felt like I had to be this person that I wasn't anymore. And it is okay to simply be soft. It is okay to simply just breathe and enjoy life every single day. I took so many things for granted. When I open my eyes and I look outside the window and I see that the sun is shining, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for the air that I breathe. I'm grateful for so many little things in my life that it's making me learn to appreciate just going with the flow and being who I am unapologetically and just being confident in that. There is no key to success and confidence other than just allowing yourself to be and to do things that make you feel good. It felt so good to put on makeup, to sit here and set this up, and just looking at this now, I'm so proud of myself. And this is a true testament of the beauty of starting over, the beauty of becoming, the beauty of changing and allowing yourself to embark on a new journey, whatever that may look like. So, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for growing with me. And thank you for giving me the space and opportunity to get things off my chest, because I feel like I've been holding this in for a minute, but I just wanted to make sure that when I did it right and I did it for the right reasons. So, thank you guys again for being my community. And I cannot wait for this new season of Gotta Have Faith, this new season of self love, this new season of growing, becoming, and evolving. I have been always someone who lives by the mantra, gotta have faith, but also I think I've loved the word becoming, and I've been using becoming her and using my different platforms as a style of storytelling and using it as my digital diary. So, thank you for listening to this entry. Thank you for allowing me to be here, and thank you for just being you. And I hope you continue to feel empowered in whatever version of yourself you are listening to this as. You are allowed to become over and over again. We have this long, full, beautiful life, and it is completely okay to be different versions of yourself. So always remember, be yourself, be true to yourself unapologetically. Listen to your heart, listen to what your body is telling you, because your body will react with the quickness before you know. So thank you for being here. Again, this is Gotta Have Faith, the community podcast, and I'll talk to you soon.